Pleasure is the reward, but what if it's just a mask? What if the scroll, the chocolate, the laugh, the thrill are shadows, artfully cloaked, concealing something far more raw, far more aching? Let me ask, when was the last time you felt whole without yearning for more? Not just content, not just amused, but deeply, truly untouched by craving. Here's the truth. We dwell in an age of pleasure, yet we're starving. Carl Jung once warned that the comforts we chase often block our path to healing. Today, you'll view pleasure in a way you've never seen before. Let's begin. They say pleasure is the reward, but what if it's merely a veil? What if the scroll, the chocolate, the laugh, the thrill are shadows, cleverly cloaked, hiding something far more raw, far more aching? Let me ask, when was the last time you felt complete without craving more? Not just content, not just amused, but deeply, truly untouched by desire. Here's the truth. We live in an age of pleasure, yet we're famished. Carl Jung once cautioned that the comforts we pursue often block our path to healing. Today, you'll see pleasure in a way you've never seen before. Let's begin. Picture this. You wake. You grab your phone. You don't know why. No crisis, no delight, but the habit outweighs hunger. A reel sparks a smile for 3 seconds. You laugh, then forget it ever happened. Another reel, then another. In that endless scroll, the day slips away, but the void lingers. You set the phone down, maybe reach for something sweet, salty, or both. Guilt creeps in. You weren't hungry. You just needed something. And that something wasn't food. It wasn't dopamine. It was silence. It was escape. It was a pause from a storm you've never named. Let me share Jung's view. He said we all have a shadow, a hidden self we bury beneath distraction. Pleasure is the tool we wield. When you eat without hunger, scroll without curiosity, or chase fleeting highs without deeper connection, you're not seeking joy, you're seeking numbness. Here's the harsh reality. Most pleasure isn't pleasure. It's relief from self-awareness. But the cost is steep. Every dose of false pleasure deepens the hunger for the real. And when we don't find it, we feel shattered. We're not. We're just unaware that we've been conditioned to mistake escape for joy, unaware that the pleasure we chase is often a symptom, not a cure. Let's go deeper. You're 6 years old. You cry. No one hears. So you learn. Feeling pain yields nothing. But when you smile, perform, or distract yourself, people approve. That reward embeds itself. You repeat it for years, until adulthood, where your pain goes unspoken and your pleasures grow loud, louder than your loneliness, louder than your fears, louder than the child within who only wanted to be held. But here's what most never grasp. Pleasure has memory. Each time you use it to mute pain, you train your body to dread stillness. Stillness becomes unbearable, which is why you can't sit alone, why you need music in the shower, why silence feels like punishment. Jung understood this. He saw how pleasure, when misused, becomes the soul's adversary. Not because pleasure is wrong, but because we wield it poorly. The true enemy is the avoidance it enables. Before we continue, I invite you to act. If this resonates, if you've ever felt that odd guilt after indulging in something that should have brought joy, subscribe, not just to spread this message, but because you're not alone. Comment below, what moment struck you hardest so far? Admitting it isn't weakness, it's strength to see it. Now let's uncover the trap. Imagine someone wandering a desert chasing mirages. Each time they reach one, it fades, yet they keep running, believing the next will be real. That's pleasure without purpose. And here's the paradox. True pleasure, the kind that nourishes the soul, is often quiet. It doesn't demand, distract, or numb. It expands you. It's in a meaningful conversation, in finishing something you feared, in waking and realizing you no longer need what once controlled you. But we don't crave that kind because it's not easy. Yet it's the only kind worth craving. Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. Pleasure is the most artful absurdity we've created. Let's keep exploring, rewind. You're a child again. You fall, scrape your knee, it stings, you cry. Someone says, 'Here's a cookie, don't cry,' or 'Stop crying, look, a cartoon's on.' That moment lingers, not consciously but neurologically. Your brain learns, pain is punishment, feeling is weakness, pleasure is the solution. So you grow, mastering distraction. Pleasure becomes your translator. It speaks when you're too afraid to say, 'I'm not okay.' It moves when you're too weary to admit, 'I'm empty.' It smiles when you want to scream. But no one tells you this. Each time you trade emotion for stimulation, you drift further from your true self. Jung warned, when the inner world is ignored, the outer world grows louder. And what is pleasure if not the loudest thing in our lives? The scroll, the buzz, the ping, the binge, they shout so we don't have to listen. Listen to what? The ache beneath, the need for meaning, the longing to belong, the wound of being unseen. Pleasure isn't wrong, it's sacred when chosen with intent, but it becomes poison when it replaces presence. Let me ask, have you ever felt guilt after pleasure? After one more episode, texting someone you shouldn't, buying what you didn't need, eating when you weren't hungry? That guilt isn't because you did wrong. It's because part of you knows you weren't nourished. You just avoided the hunger. This is where many misread Jung. They think shadow work is about embracing darkness or intensity. That's shallow. Shadow work is about facing the moments you betray yourself for relief and saying, "I see you. I choose truth over escape." Let me share a story. Someone couldn't stop chasing relationships. They called themselves a hopeless romantic. But every relationship followed the same pattern. Intensity, obsession, crash, repeat. When asked why they couldn't stop, they said, "I just love connection." But that wasn't true. What they loved was distraction. Alone, the silence roared. They'd never learned to sit with their wounds, so pleasure became their bandage until it no longer held. This story isn't rare. It's the hidden tale of millions who confuse longing for connection, scrolls for joy, numbing for healing. The danger isn't that these pleasures exist. It's that we never question why we need them. Here's the myth we must break. Pleasure isn't healing. It isn't peace. It isn't power. Pleasure is a tool, and tools, when misused, turn dangerous. Now, flip it. Recall the last time you delayed gratification, resisted that message, that craving, that click. Later, you felt proud, peaceful. Why? Because discipline isn't just control, it's self-trust, and trust is the true reward. When you trust yourself, pleasure no longer owns you. You choose it intentionally, fully, freely. That's when pleasure becomes beautiful again. Not a crutch, not a chain, but a celebration. Imagine this. You step into a room. No noise, no phone, just you. Instead of panic, you feel at home. Not because you have everything, but because you are enough. That's what Jung meant by individuation. Becoming whole, not through denial or endless striving, but through integration. The ability to enjoy pleasure without using it as a shield. The ability to embrace silence without fear. The ability to be with yourself and value who you are. That's the goal, but you can't reach it by chasing fleeting highs. You get there by quieting your distractions and hearing what they concealed. What does that look like? It's noticing when you reach for the phone and asking, "What am I avoiding?" It's feeling loneliness without covering it with sugar, fleeting excitement, or scrolling. It's choosing the slower joy, the one that requires effort, presence, delayed reward. Because here's the truth. Real pleasure isn't instant. It's earned. The best laugh is with someone you trust. The best meal follows a day of meaningful effort. The best connection comes after a conversation where you're truly seen, not just swiped. Pause for a moment. If this message stirs something within, good. That's what awakening feels like. Quiet, not grand, not dramatic. It's decisive. The choice is clear. Will I keep numbing the ache with quick pleasures, or will I meet myself bravely without distraction? Jung believed our struggles stem not from trauma, but from our refusal to face what trauma left behind. Pleasure, when used unconsciously, ensures we never do. But now you